Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Well, today, since we all know that we are learning more about curiosity, my topic is the human algorithm, which is the core curiosity which begins at the start of the change. In a world that runs on algorithm, can you think what actually sparks the real change? Think about it in your mind. Maybe your mind will come up with some answers like patience, perseverance, dedication, trust, effort, skills, training, development, coding, etc. Well, these are actually the contributing factors or attributes that come after the spark. But what actually adds up the spark? What actually makes a person think and take that step forward? Well, I call it Captain Curiosity. Why? Because every brand, every innovation, every powerful conversation and stories were not built on data. They were actually built on wonder, on questions that actually make people think, a kind of a wondering that compels us to question the purpose itself. The purpose that leads us to figure out our what, where, when, and how. In a world where everything is AI driven, where we are running behind artificial intelligence, let's not forget the oldest form of human intelligence, which is curiosity. Imagine if humans were not curious enough about discovering AI, what artificial intelligence can do, or what power does artificial intelligence hold. Would we be able to live in a world which is way more connected? No, right? It's human curiosity that led us our ways forward. Well, tell me, if curiosity had a search history, what would yours say? Would it be something like how to be happy, or how can I prepare for my exams in one day to burn the midnight oil, or is this career opportunity or my career decision best for me? Well, my curiosity search history is an odd mix of poetry philosophies, branding, marketing, and analysis. Because what I discovered that curiosity is the only dot that connects both my worlds together. Back when I started my journey in literature by reading books, writing stories, surrounded by the words and the worlds that it built, it led me to a single question: why do people do what they do? A question arised from every character, every climax, every story, every ending, every suspense or thriller, that why is this particular thing this way? Moving further, 3 years later, when I stepped into branding and marketing, curiosity found me again. It made me question that why are people curious enough? Why do people trust this brand? What makes them stop by? What makes them look at that marketing campaign? Moreover, what makes them add that particular product in the cart and spend their hard-earned money on that particular product? That made me realize that curiosity is the ultimate human algorithm on which our entire human mind, our body functions. Today, when we see every breakthrough, it begins not with what we actually know, but what we are seeking to know, what we are trying to understand and find the ways to fill that gap. We are not machines, we are human beings. We don't directly jump onto questions or solutions and just find a particular solution for a problem. We are humans wired with emotions, curiosity, and discovering the purpose. We want to know why is this particular thing actually happening. We live in a world which is way more curious than ever. We live in a world which is way more connected than before, but less curious than ever. We are consuming more, but contemplating less. We are searching for answers, but we are not directly asking better right questions or bold questions that can lead us to figure out our purpose. We are not consciously consuming. We just consume anything that comes across our way. We have Google for questions, we have ChatGPT to help you with your choices, we have Copy AI to help you write better ad copies, we have Black Box AI to help you with coding, and Reels for inspiration. Seriously, I mean, Do we even stop and question ourselves that whatever I am consuming, is it the right form of consumption? Is it satisfying my curiosity? In fact, 72% of the leaders, there was a study conducted in IBM which showcased that 72% of leaders actually believe that curiosity is the driving force behind every innovation, but only 24% of leaders actually encourage it. Just think about it. Curiosity, a factor that is actually the driving force which empowers creativity, which empowers empathy. We often edit it out just in the name of efficiency and chasing perfection, but not taking that risk. Campaigns are crafted perfectly, but they have zero soul. They are optimized for reach, but they don't have resonance. And that's the time where, brands start sounding bland, they just start sounding very preachy. And slowly, when we just consume more and more, we design more but we discover less. In times today, we are just collecting the data but we are losing the depth, and the attention span has reduced so much that our motivation just fades off within seconds. We skip every reel, we skip every content, and when curiosity dies, innovation slowly and gradually turns into duplication. To truly connect brands who, better brands who actually connect with people, who cater to solutions with purpose, they are the brands that actually perform well and are not just optimized enough for reach. Moving further, the algorithm of curiosity. Well, if I talk about my entire career, for me, curiosity wasn't just a career strategy. In fact, it was a survival, it was a game changing or a turning point for me. When I started writing, the very first article I wrote, I was in self-doubt. I wondered if people will really read. Will they spend time reading my book, reading my article? But what I knew, I was curious enough to understand what goes behind human emotions. Why does a person behaves in a certain way? What makes them feel happy? What makes them feel sad? What makes them heal? What makes them break, sad, happy, depressed or anxious, and moreover vulnerable? And how do they overcome their feelings? This curiosity led me to figure out my own path. Moving further, when I dived deep into marketing, curiosity found me again. This time, not in pen, paper or diary, but in meetings and boardrooms. I realized that everything is well optimized for reach, everything is polished, everything is perfect. But what is missing? The personal touch, the human connect, the emotional feeling between the brands and the audience, and what connects them. Thus, that was my moment of genesis that made me question my entire purpose, that made me figure out my journey in my career. And I realized that clarity is not actually the opposite of curiosity. Clarity is the end result of curiosity. Point A being your curiosity, point Z being your clarity, and everything in between. Patience, perseverance, dedication, chaos, failure, disappointments, everything are your contributing attributes that guide you through your curiosity to better clarity. And I like to think it of in, three simple lines or three simple code of conduct, a very short code OQC. O stands for observation, Q stands for connection, Q stands for question, and C stands for connection. So this code OQC, observation, question and connection, is something which I relate corely with curiosity. Moving further, observation, yes, it basically means noticing the unseen. Now let's understand this with a very simple example. People sitting in this room, especially, who are wearing specs. Now, when you have your tea or coffee, when you are holding the cup of hot tea or coffee, you drink it. The vapor, the hot vapor sticks on the glass. Do you just remove your glass and throw it away? No, right? You will take it off, you will wipe it, clean it, put it back. Or if both of your hands are occupied, will you just stand in that particular restaurant? No, right? You will try to adjust your frame and look beyond. Am I able to see what's happening around me? In winters, when we drive car or any vehicle, there's fog. Now, do we stop by or stop the car at the side of the road and wait for the fog to clear? No, right? We will try to see whether this particular road is visible. Can I still move ahead? Then why not implement this simple thing in our day-to-day activities, in our daily routine? And the times where world is speeding up, people don't have time for anyone. Why not stand and observe things for a while? Why not notice what is being unnoticed? And when you give anything, a particular thing, place, moment, or person your attention, you are giving your energy. Where attention goes, energy flows. And in times today, attention is the rarest form of generosity that you can possess, a very generous kindness that you can possess. Observation is not about just seeing, it's about noticing how your friend just notices your silence and understands your mood is not fine. How your teacher notices you need a little backup, a push, and then children are able to reach their goals. How your manager in office notices that you need help with that particular presentation or dealing with that client. When you start noticing or start reading in between the words, that's when you actually start observing things. Do you remember in school how our teachers used to teach us, especially the language subjects, Hindi, English, Marathi? There were stories, there were poetries, and our teachers used to explain or ask us questions. What is the poet trying to convey? What is the author trying to convey? Teachers used to read the entire summary. They used to understand what is written in between the words. What is the message the particular author is trying to give, and then explain that to the entire class. Explain the meaning just by observing the space in between the words and making us understand things, values of life. So moving further with branding, where we talk about brands and companies. Branding is equals to sensing the emotions of the people. We often get confused between a company versus brand. Now company is something which delivers the services, product, and you know that this company provides this particular product to me. But when I talk about brand is basically the goodwill of the company. If you have somewhere, if you know about what does a tangible and intangible asset mean. A tangible asset is something that you see, but intangible asset is something that you cannot see. A company is a tangible asset, but the goodwill, what does a particular company makes a person feel? How does a particular company connects their particular product with the people and their emotions? That's where branding takes place. That's where people resonate with the brand. Hence, attention, as I said, is the generous form of kindness that you can possess. Let's start observing more. Let's start connecting with more people and try to understand them rather than just reacting to a particular situation. Let's start responding to situations. Moving further, questioning, which is challenging the status quo. We all know that every great idea began with simple questions. Do you know there was a kid in school, or chalo, let's get back to the part where we were in school, 5th to 10th standard, and majority of our mathematics, science or SST lectures, teachers used to explain us the subjects. While ending the lecture, they used to ask us one single question, class, that's it for today. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. And there was a kid in every class who will raise his hand high up and say, yes ma'am, I have a question. We used to make fun of that kid. But the irony is, we are trying to become that kid again. We are trying to ask better questions. Somewhere between the school time and adulthood, we have stopped questioning the societal norms. We have stopped questioning that why are things the particular way, because we fear that people will judge us. People will think that if I am asking questions, even if it is a silly or stupid question, I am not confident enough or I have low confidence. But do you know, asking better questions actually makes you a good human being, a self-aware and informed individual who actually cares about what's happening around you, who is taking interest in a particular situation and trying to know better that how can I contribute by asking better questions. Questions are the search engine of creativity and progress. If you stop asking better questions, you stop growing. Same way goes with opportunities. If I want to do something, I can't just be sitting idle and think कि चलो opportunity will come across my way. I will have to reach out to that client, I will have to reach out to that opportunity and keep working for it. Same way goes in business, you know, when you are catering to the clients and you know that this is XYZ requirement of the client, but to deliver better results, to deliver better output, if you don't ask questions on discovery calls, you won't understand that what is the exact requirement of the client and how can I give better results for better success of the client. Hence, always question. Connection, turning your thoughts into empathy. Now, in times today where people often get confused with sympathy and empathy. Now, sympathy is something which, people can even fake it. But empathy is something people can only feel and make you feel, caring about someone, making them feel protected in your energy. That's what empathy does. For example, how, writers craft their characters, and when you read a book, you deeply resonate with that particular character. When you watch a web series or when you watch a movie, there's a character that becomes your favorite character. Why? Maybe because the kind of a quality the character possesses, or maybe because of the personality of that particular character. But there is an emotional connect. Empathy builds trust, understanding, and progress, and curiosity is basically the bridge between people and possibilities, between brands and people, and how brand wants to deliver the message. It's basically the emotional connect that brands create. So yes, this was code OQC, and empathy, these days we often run behind what is trending, what is cool. Oh, this looks cool, chalo, I'll follow that. These sunglasses looks cool, I'll put on that. But something that never goes out of fashion, something which is always cool from decades to times today and will always remain cool, is kindness. Kindness is the core root of empathy. The more kind you are, the more you listen to people and try to understand that every particular situation can have 10 different perspectives. The greatest example we know, 6 and 9. If I am stuck in a situation, maybe that particular situation may be a very big thing for me, but someone sitting in the chair, it might just be a small thing. So every situation has 10 different perspectives and can have 10 different attributes to it. And as we discussed previously, that curiosity doesn't just shapes the future, it actually imagines it. Now, curiosity in action. Let's try to learn from better examples from past and present, featuring the real world, because future lies in our hands, in your hands, and maybe someone who will be standing over here from next generation will give your examples. But for now, let's learn from the OGs. When I talk about the literature world, George Orwell, better known for his works like 1984 and Animal Farm, questioned that what does power does to truth. Virginia Woolf, greatest author of all time, especially in 1880s in the American literature, who questioned feminism in that time, asked that what does identity does to silence. Moving further with Amrita Pritam, she questioned what does borders do to hearts. One of the greatest authors when it comes to partition, 1947. Moving further, Munshi Premchand, he questioned that what does power does to dignity. Now, when I talk about these writers, they didn't become the greatest writers or greatest authors just because they started discovering answers, but they were more curious about questioning the default, questioning what's happening in the society, why is it happening in the society, and that is something that led them to find their own voice through the work and set a benchmark, which we all know. Curiosity driving branding and marketing success. Well, we all know Apple was the first one to question what if technology could feel human. Nike challenged the limit of human potential. Dove questioned what beauty really is. And Amul, let's come closer to home. Amul, a brand which we have known for 50 years, is always curious to know about what are people doing, what are they celebrating, why are they happy, what are they protesting about. Brands don't just become better brands by marketing, they become better brands by asking questions, by solving actual problems of the people, and understand that what is the actual pain point of my audience or my target audience, how can I actually help my audience, And that's where brands actually stop sounding more preachy or salesy and sound human. And in the times, you know, where everything is about B2B, D2D, or B2C, edge to edge, human to human connection is something that obviously I also as a customer will think, if this brand actually cares about me, they have a bit of emotional touch and they understand empathy and human emotions, that's the brand I will prefer, rather than a brand which is just boasting about the products, its features and benefits. Every spark of curiosity begins with the courage to wonder. It leads to connection, change, and discovery. Curiosity often empowers growth, innovation, and empathy. And when we ask questions to ourselves, when we challenge, that's where we actually start growing. You know, we often think that the human potential or the human progress actually lies in discovering answers, but the truth is that answers barely change us. It is the courage to ask better questions, to ask bold questions, that challenge us, that makes us feel uncomfortable, that makes us dig deep into a particular relation, into a particular problem or a solution or anything, but something that makes us feel uncomfortable. So today, let's, you know, try asking better questions. Maybe the world is waiting for your next question. Maybe that next question of yours can change your life for real. So ask better questions and let those questions change your life and unlock your potential. Thank you.